with a K here. I'm finally back. I feel like Shania Twain. I'm sitting on a stool. I feel like I'm gonna start strumming my guitar, but I wanted to talk about where I've been and the road ahead for me and what's to come. So I'm gonna try to make this as quick as possible, but you guys know I like to talk and I like to be transparent with all of you as much as I possibly can. And for everything I say, there will be follow-up videos coming to better explain the things that I'm talking about. But basically back in January, I found a lump in my right breast. This happened between January 13th and the 19th, and I know this because that was when my grandma had passed away. She was the only person in my family who had breast cancer. She was a breast cancer survivor, and she beat cancer, and she wound up passing away from old age at 94. So I felt like she was with me during that time. I think I had mentioned that in some of my posts on Instagram. If you guys don't follow me there, that I felt like she was in the house, she was around, and I had felt a lump in my breast. And at first I just kind of thought like, that's kind of funny. And my husband kind of pushed me to go get an appointment. I had my annual coming up with my gynecologist in March, the middle of March, and he was like, please book something sooner. Like, I'm really nervous about what's in your chest. And so I did. So I made an appointment, and my gynecologist wasn't available. So I met with a nurse practitioner who I swear saved my life. I don't want to be dramatic, but she really helped me out tremendously. So I met with this nurse practitioner, and she basically was like, don't tell me where it is. I'm going to feel for it. She felt it. She's like, yep, it's about 2 to 3 centimeters big, which I had already measured it. I know that I'm a little wacky, but I had already measured it. So I knew that it was about 2 to 3 centimeters big. She's like, it's about 7 o'clock on your right breast. She's like, I'm ordering a stat ultrasound. She basically put everything in motion for me. So she's like, you're gonna go downstairs and you're gonna see, they might not get you in today, it might be this week, but you gotta get an ultrasound. So I go downstairs, they're like, we can get you in a half hour if you wanna wait, or you guys can come back next week or the next day, whatever it was. And I was like, we're gonna wait. So we wait, we find out it's not a cyst, which I didn't know much about breast cancer at the time. And so I knew, the only thing I did know was what I was researching, and that if it is a cyst, that means that it's filled with fluid, and that means that it's not cancerous. So when my husband heard this news that it wasn't a cyst, he thought we were in the clear, it wasn't cancer, but unfortunately that's not what that meant. That meant that now we had to get a biopsy done. So they scheduled me 3 weeks later. So for 3 weeks I had to wait and think about what this was in my chest, in my breast. And upon doing research, based on the size of it, it wound up being 2.8 centimeters. Based on the size of it, if it were cancer, that could mean that it was stage 2 cancer. And so these are just things that were just in my head. It was a really hard time. I was thinking it metastasized. I was thinking every ache and pain that I had, it was cancer spreading in my body. It was just a really terrifying time to wait those 3 weeks. And that's when I was like, I'm getting on social media, I can't do this anymore. I can't, I'm transparent with you all, and I couldn't come on and be like, I don't know if I have cancer. That's just not me. I had to know before I came on. And so I decided to get off social media. Everything kind of took a hit for me, my business, everything, because I was just nowhere to be found. I was silent. And so I finally, 3 weeks later, it was an ultrasound guided biopsy. And I will have videos explaining this because I literally filmed as soon as I came home. I knew I was gonna wanna put this information out there to help anybody who's going through this. And so I filmed exactly what I went through during these procedures, and I will have those dedicated videos coming out soon. There were a lot of procedures that happened. So that was the first one. I had to wait almost a few days to get the results. They said that it wasn't cancerous. But the nurse practitioner that I had already met with, she called me up the next day after I had met with her, after she ordered the stat ultrasound, and she was like, you need to advocate for yourself. Here are some breast surgeons that I want you to get in touch with. And I was like, what am I doing with this information? She's like, if you were my sister, I would tell you to call them and get on their schedule. And I was like, okay. So I wound up getting in touch with one of them, actually responded to me. And so I had an appointment with her the week after my ultrasound guided biopsy. So the following week. Now I had already known now, at the time of booking the appointment, I didn't know if I had cancer or not. But at the time of seeing her, I already knew I didn't have, that was not cancerous. So I was kind of nervous going into the appointment because I'm like, she's a breast surgeon, she deals with breast cancer. She might poo-poo me out of her office, not want to talk to me, not want to deal with me. But she wasn't. She actually heard everything I had to say. She let me just cry it out in her office. She let me just talk and be heard. And she also found some lumps on the left breast. And she was like, we got to be thorough. You have some lumps on this side. I want you to get an MRI with contrast, and you're going to get a mammogram done. And I was like, well, I already got a mammogram after I got the biopsy, because after they do the biopsy, they do a quick mammogram, which hurts. I'm going to talk about all this in another video. but they do a quick biopsy just to make sure they put markers in to marker the actual tumor, the growth. It's a quick mammogram. And she was like, no, you need like a real mammogram. We need a baseline. I'm 36 years old. You usually don't get mammograms until you're 40, but because of what was going on, she had ordered it. So I believe it was the 3 weeks later. Now I'm worried about this side a little bit. I wasn't as worried about this side as I was this side. This side I was terrified of. This side I wasn't. Wind up going in, they do the MRI with contrast first. I will have a video talking all about this. And then from there, they're like, hey, we actually can't do your mammogram because you have the contrast in your breast. It's gonna mess up the mammogram. So I'm like, okay, so I guess I'll come back to, next week. They scheduled the appointment for next week. So I'm on my way home and they call me up. They're like, hey, we actually can do the mammogram. Can you come back here? So I'm like, yeah, absolutely. So I come back. They do the mammogram. This is a real full mammogram. This is the first time getting it done. And the technician is like, I'm gonna go see if the doctor wants more pictures. So she comes back. She's like, the doctor wants more pictures. This was kind of normal. She said that she wants more pictures. And she's like, your breasts are very, very dense. And now at the breast surgeon, I had found out that I am higher risk for breast cancer. She winds up telling me, you are higher risk. We just have to find out the density of your breast. If you have very dense breasts, that means that you're even higher risk. And when the technician said to me, she's like, your breasts are very dense. And I was like, no, I didn't know that. That's something you could only find out from a mammogram. And so I found out it's very dense. And she kind of turned the screen so I could see it. I didn't really know what I was looking at, but I did see a bunch of like little specks. I explained it by saying like it looked like the night sky. I had microcalcifications, which microcalcifications are normal in breast, but if there's a cluster or if there is a pattern of them, it could indicate you are precancerous, you have the start of cancer, or you have cancer in your breast. And so naturally in my right breast they found out that there was a cluster of microcalcifications, so I had to get those biopsied. So they scheduled the biopsy for, I believe, a week after that appointment. So they were like, your MRI with contrast is fine, but we're going to schedule a biopsy on these microcalcifications, which could be benign, they could be nothing, but we're going to schedule that. So now we're in April. I believe we're in April at this point. So this is from January where I found the lump to April, and I'm still not sure if I have breast cancer. So now this was a mammogram guided biopsy, and I am going to have a video talking about that because it's different than the ultrasound guided biopsy. So I do have videos talking about each. They're coming out soon. So basically they do the biopsy, and a week later I find out they're not cancer, it's not cancerous, but I do have a lot of other lumps that are also benign, but a lot of other lumps. So basically my plan for the rest of my life will be every 6 months I have to get an ultrasound, I have to get a mammogram, and wait for this to either turn into cancer or maybe become cancer or maybe never become cancer. And so I was like, that's not good for me. That's not for me. So after a lot of conversations with my husband, a lot of conversations with myself, and just knowing that this is what I want to do, I decided that I'm going to get a double mastectomy. It's a prophylactic double mastectomy, and it decreases my chances of getting breast cancer by 90%. And so that's what I'm doing. I'm not getting implants. I'm going flat. It's called an aesthetic flat closure, and I will take you guys along on that journey with me. But that is what I'm doing. To be honest, I know that not everybody's going to agree with that. I really don't care, but I feel like I have ticking time bombs on my breasts, and I'm not going to wait every 6 months to see what, if, when. For me, that's the best decision. And so I am going to take you guys on that journey with me. Obviously, I haven't gotten that done yet, but that is actually happening. It's already scheduled. So I will be taking you guys along the same way I did with my septum. When I got my deviated septum fix, I took you guys along for that journey, and I will be taking you guys along for this journey as well. It feels surreal. I've had very, very, very abnormally large breasts for my body for as long as I can remember. And me and my breast surgeon, the one who I went to, both agree it's the size of my breasts are probably from my birth control. And my birth control that I'm on, I don't want to say the name of it. I am going to do a video talking all about the side effects of it, are lumps in breast cancer and breast growth. A lot of people always accuse me. I've said this in a video before talking about the plastic surgeries I've had, where I've had no plastic surgery except for when I was younger. I smashed my face and my parents got a plastic surgeon for it. But besides that, I've had no plastic surgeries, and I get accused of having fake boobs and people always accuse me of that. And I had said in the video talking about plastic surgery that I would want a breast reduction, but I was too afraid because I heard that people's nipples come off with it sometimes, like the nipples don't stay attached, and that freaked me out. And now that I'm at this place right now where I have a tumor basically attached to my nipple, which I'll be talking about in another video, I can give two shits about my nipples at this point. So yeah, that is where we're at. Oh, don't forget to like and subscribe. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you want to see the other videos that I have coming out talking about the procedures that I've already had done, just talking about them as a layman and just from my point of view. And don't forget to advocate for yourself. As I had said, that nurse practitioner called me and said advocate for yourself, and if it wasn't for her, I wouldn't have had that meeting with the breast surgeon. I wouldn't have found out that I was high risk. I wouldn't have found out my density. I wouldn't have had a mammogram yet. I wouldn't be getting this done. I wouldn't have got the calcifications checked. And you know, I'm really thankful that they've been so thorough with me. Oh, I also met with a plastic surgeon. He's going to be doing my final stitches. The breast surgeon that I spoke to, she was like, I don't specialize in the scars, and I want to make sure that it looks good for you. And so we're going to get a plastic surgeon in. So I met with him, and it was kind of like a very drab, I mean, I think he thought I wanted to come in and get like a breast reduction or a boob job, and I was like, I'm going flat. And they were just kind of like taken back. It was a very like drab appointment. I think I have a video talking about that coming out. I'm not sure if I filmed that, but basically I was just not having it. I was like, I'm going flat. I don't care about my nipples. I don't care about anything. I'm getting these removed. I'm decreasing my chances of getting breast cancer, and I'm done with this conversation. So yeah, that's where we're at. Advocate for yourself. Look up things. I mean, I found so much out about breast cancer, and just to clarify, I do not have breast cancer. I am just high risk for it, and so I'm reducing my risk of getting it. I've also stopped my birth control, and I also plan on getting my tubes removed. Yeah, I want to use my platform to share as much information as possible. I will continue to do makeup. I will continue to do hair. That is at the heart of who I am, but I want to, of course, spread as much knowledge as I have, and it's just important for me to do that. So thank you so much for your love and support. Thank you for sticking around. Thank you for joining me. I've actually had a lot of followers just from older videos, so I really appreciate it. Yeah, let's get this done. I love you all so much, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.